Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tarnished Bronze. We're here looking at another issue of The Brave and the Bold, this time number 156, with my dear friend Patrick. Now, Patrick, what do you notice about the covers from these particular eras?
Yeah, interestingly enough, it's funny that you brought that up. This is from November 1979. This is an original comic book of mine. And it did have the cover, so I still have the original one, which
So you
means
didn't steal it?
I did not steal it. I think it must have come from the grocery store. And I would say there's very high likelihood that I purchased it because of the cover, because at that time in my life, I was 5 years old. That's pretty much the extent of, how I, chose comic books. I love Dr. Fate. This is probably the first time that I had seen Dr. Fate, but I've loved him ever since. So I think something visually about him I always really like the helmet, the yellow and blue. I mean, I know we just call everything Kirby Crackle, but I love the representation of powers in cartoon form. So I love his magic and the bullets careening off the shield. And I don't mind the words on the word blurb on the cover. It's very of the times. A lot of times at this time you would actually have word blurbs, right, where they're actually saying
Yeah.
something. In this case, it's a third party omniscient, just why? Why is Commissioner Gordon trying to kill Batman? And that's a good question. Also, Commissioner Gordon has great hair.
Yeah. So Jim Aparo does, I think, the covers for this, and he always does a good commish. So Patrick, you and I are sophisticated comic book readers, but I'm always happy to suspend disbelief whenever they're talking about like a rift or a beef erupting between the commish
Hmm.
and Batman. So I mean, we're both suckers for this sort of thing, right?
Oh, I love it when the heroes fight each other. Always, yes. It's a trope, but it's a good one.
Okay. So once again, this issue is by the Burkett and Newton combo. So you can check out other Brave and the Bold sort of expose on that issue where we go into those two creators, but they're very, very good. What
I
was
would
your first
say
Doctor Fate then, Patrick?
I think it had to have been this, had to have been, because I was so young and I just had a few comic books. So besides this, it would have been, I didn't have very many JSA, but I had some All-Star Squadron. So maybe saw him in All-Star Squadron, but that would have been a couple of years down the road. Two things that I was going to mention that I actually don't like about this. Well, one side note, this style bridge is very Appalachia. I mean, it's also supposed to look like Chicago, and full disclosure, I have lived in Chicago, and it does. But it's also very reminiscent of a country bridge out in the middle of nowhere. So that's kind of reminiscent of home. But I don't love the color choices on the Batman logo. The red
Oh,
with the
yeah, I didn't notice that.
yellow,
That's very bizarre.
and I think the Dr. Fate font is very lackluster. Could have done so much more with that. Maybe with the Ankh, right? Because
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
times his
yeah.
magic comes out as the Ankh, and maybe we could have used that for the T and Doctor or something. Or I just feel like they kind of mailed it in on that. Because nowadays every character kind of has their own font and sometimes even their own lettering.
So yeah, typesetter and font designer extraordinaire Patrick there is throwing some shade on some of these on it's actually probably one of Joe Kubert's kids, Andy or Adam Kubert, has to do all the lettering for these DC issues, and then they're not going to get their crack at drawing a Batman cover for another 10 years, so they have to basically typeset all this stuff, and I can understand them just cutting out block letters for Doctor Fate, Patrick. So
They're
I
like, who
mean,
cares?
Kubert boys, if you're out there, comment and just let Patrick have it with both barrels. He doesn't like your colors. He doesn't like your fonts. Try harder.
Try harder. I do. I love how pointy Batman is on all these Brave and Bold covers. He's got the really super pointy ears. He's got the really pointy fins on his gloves. And I love this Batman gray. I really like this configuration and coloring of his costume, this time period with the bright blue and then the sort of sharp gray underneath.
Yeah, and I
This
think
is
people are
my
getting
Batman, right? This is the Batman that I'm most familiar with.
And I think people are getting into more and more in this era, like making the bat ears a thing of his personality. So I know Jim Starlin does just one issue of Batman in this era, and it is magnificent. We might have to do that for the channel actually, but he's like the way he does the ears and the cowl is kind of like revelatory, very influential. So I think maybe some of that is creeping into just the house style Batman. So my Dr. Fate Patrick is probably embroiled in some issues of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing or Saga of the Swamp Thing. Can't remember the
Mm.
issue, but there's some sort of um, there's a cosmical side gig to the Crisis era, and I think Dr. Fate and Zatanna and some of those characters are kind of all embroiled with Swamp Thing to sort of deal with that.
Wasn't he in JLI? I would have thought it was JLI for you, because wasn't he one of the JLI members?
He was, but I don't think I had that particular those particular issues. So yeah, I'm a very sort of recent um, exposee to Doctor Fate. Maybe one of the reasons that I was sort of reluctant to get into Doctor Fate is, firstly, he kind of seems like he's fighting pre-crime. And that's a very philosophical challenge to me to be like, am I okay with this guy who is just going around and preventing pre-crime? Because that's pretty close to thought crime in my book, and that's a hell of a slippery slope. The second part of this, I hope you can appreciate from this picture, is he's fighting pre-crime or trying to discover pre-crimes in a doorless, windowless, like joyless.
His tower is always like that. No door, no window. I mean, it says it too, but I remember that from other issues. But yeah, that's he doesn't have a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
And
So sort of
honestly,
like
if I had built my own home, I this may have been part of my architectural inspiration.
at least he has a chair and a table, so that's a start. So you can so if you move into this place, Patrick, you can at least read your comics in peace on a nice table with great lighting. Look at that candle, how much light it's throwing out. Um, you know, so this it's not that bad. It's just very peculiar. Um, And I'm starting to think that it's a real missed trick. Not, he's just talking about his crystal orb of Nebu. So many options for his own font and logo, just in the first page or the first couple of
Yeah.
panels alone, Patrick. So anyway, I think the main part of this is like Batman, and there's been a kerfuffle with the Gotham City police. They're all gone off their gourd. It seems like corruption
Fun.
is spreading its nefarious tendrils. And the thing that I have to laugh about is like just corruption in the police force. Impossible.
That's what he says.
Just yeah, so
There were
good.
simpler times in 1979. You would think from the writing, but I don't know that that was necessarily true. So, but yeah, they're shocked by the fact that there could be corruption. Now, this is another Batman detective story, so you'll probably appreciate that because they are unraveling a mystery. They don't really know why, where the corruption's coming from, what's causing it. Um, I did also think that it was interesting that the handwriting of every Gotham City police officer, past and present, has been filed and is immediately identifiable by their computers.
Yeah,
So,
but
I mean, I think artificial intelligence has improved from Brave and the Bold 153. This is three issues later.
but this is still on punch cards. So
Yeah,
someone has had to punch card like an ASCII script of actual handwriting, not of text. So I don't know how many punch cards you need to store that sort of information, Patrick, but it's probably a whole bat cave full of
it would be
just
a
punch
lot.
cards.
It would
Hope
be a lot.
I hope he's using the Dewey Decimal System to file all of this information because it seems just a an incompletable task, just insurmountable.
Batman was the original Big Blue before IBM, I guess. But
But
Batman,
can he beat Gary Kasparov at chess? That's what I want to know.
probably, I would say, I mean, for DC, yeah, probably, but I would say no. I mean, I was actually just reading online, people still are hating on the crossover where Batman kind of fights the Hulk and kicks the Hulk in the stomach, and the Hulk's like, "Whoa." And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Batman would have shattered every bone in his entire body," which I'm with the internet on this one.
Okay,
It
yeah,
it seems a little sketch, but anyway, Batman and Commissioner Gordon are warned by the spirit of a deceased, disgraced cop named Donald Sterling, um, that there's corruption in the police force. Of course, Commissioner Gordon is shocked by that, and to solve the mystery, Batman actually breaks into police headquarters and steals Sterling's file so that he can get more information. Meanwhile, he's run into Dr. Fate, and Dr. Fate is going to attempt to contact his departed soul.
that's a lot to unpackage. Just so many things going on, but the graphics and the panels look amazing. This is really Gotham City by night. It's a very efficient thing. You can just draw the that sort of thing in the background. And Batman is just very confounded by the fact that there's these rotten apples in the police force too. That's the other thing that kind of sort of seemed a bit bizarre that he would be shocked.
Naivete.
Yeah. The other thing that I like about Don Newton's Batman here is he's a bit more lithe, like more nimble looking than the sort of beefcake Batman, which
Mhm.
I, I sort of think is more ringing true than the beefcake version because he's got
Right.
to use his grappling hooks and whatnot and swing around without the abilities of Spider-Man, might I add, like turrets and gargoyles. And, you know, sitting on a gargoyle, you want to be more nimble than just like a
Yeah.
massive guy. So I kind of like that. Now, here's Fate. Now, this is what I was going to get at, Patrick. The storyline in this, we keep the separate magisteria. Like Batman is dealing with handwriting and with
Hmm.
his forensic sciencing, whereas Fate, for a team up book, Fate keeps to his magisterium, like he's in the sort of ether world
Spirit
or
realm. Yeah.
different psychic realms and dealing with arcane sort of stuff. I actually quite like that. I would find it dumb for Dr. Fate and Batman to just tool around together, like just typing on computers, and then Fate dragging Batman into the demon world, like sort of seems bizarre. The way they get around it here is, I thought, very clever.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that they found a plot that would lend itself to that, right? So Batman is investigating the corruption in the physical world, and Dr. Fate is doing it in the metaphysical world, right? Trying to
Only we
go
could do
direct
that in
to the
today's
source.
world.
Say it again.
If only we could do that in today's world.
Yeah, walk and chew gum at the same time. But yeah, this is the famous were demon. So I don't know. I don't know why. And
I,
honestly, I feel like um there are better pictures of the were demon, to be
There's
honest.
better
This
pictures of the were-demon, but I did want to keep the sort of Kirby Crackle thing going on in the middle. Dr. Fate is always followed around by some sort of like gateway, I feel. So that's keeping that there. I just like the composition of this panel as well. Yeah, I don't have much more Fate solo, but this is another great, like, real life detecting sort of panel. And if you can't read the text box, it says patiently keeping a self-appointed vigil. Now, self-appointed is just Batman to a T, right? No one's asking him to do this. Like, no one is, or wanting him necessarily to do this. So it's kind of like the Punisher. He's just self-appointed arbiter of justice, which, if you align that with Dr. Fate's pre-crime thing is just a recipe for a dystopia. But here they're using it for good, so it's fine.
Well, the way Batman gets his evidence is a little bit of a dystopia. Also, I don't know how they're ever going to get this. The source of the corruption is discovered, right? Eventually, but in order to solve this crime, Batman breaks into police headquarters, steals files from there, breaks into a wealthy Gotham businessman's home to obtain more documents that are stolen, and then he forces two confessions with physical
That's what he
threats and
might be doing after this. In his self-appointed vigil outside of
violence.
this gangster's haunt, I think he's going to get some confessions. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
So I'm not sure how any of that's, admissible in court, but they'll figure that out later between
I,
panels, I guess.
I think so. And oh, here he is now. Just doing a robust interview technique, I believe is the phrase. But just cool visuals. Like some of these panels here, like that they're really selling the fear on that guy's face, and he has good hair as well. But that's not enough to save him from the subtly forward pointing ears here. Like, are you kind of noticing that the ears are now a part of the expression?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a kind of really fun way to put police brutality in a whole new fun light. Um, and just because the guy's got white hair, they call him Whitey. So that's like some sort of stool pigeon in crime alley. Yeah, so just great stuff. So
Eventually, I was just going to say, eventually they discovered that Sterling, the disgraced deceased cop, wasn't actually the inside man that was being sort of used by this Giuseppe Condotti, the wealthiest businessman of Gotham. The inside man was actually William Tyler, a different cop. And of course, they bring him to justice. And by clearing his name, they allow Sterling's soul to rest in peace finally.
and and for those without the issue, Tyler is the guy who's getting an award at the very start from Batman.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going full circle here. So yeah, you've gone into the this is just another great panel, liberating the souls. And oh yeah,
I
the
love
dogs.
this. One of my favorite scenes in this comic is the guard dogs chasing down Batman. He knows he can't outrun them. That means the dogs are getting ready to get hurt.
Yeah.
But luckily, Dr. Fate flies in and levitates the dogs harmlessly into the sky, proving that he is a dog lover, which, of course, we all love dog lovers. And Batman's able to escape without breaking the dog's legs.
And now this is a headquarters or a penthouse room. Actually, the JLA should just move into Batman's penthouse. There's enough chairs, there's couches, there's all sorts of stuff. You know how much I like a headquarters with a place to sit. And I just love the body language here. So
Batman's relaxed.
um, I didn't comment on it before, but everything Batman is doing is in full cape and cowl regalia, using his punch card computer, full cape and cowl, analyzing handwriting, full cape and cowl. I'm going to get my chemistry experiments to see if I can detect any other forensic, evidence left behind. I'm going to wear my cape while I do that and hope that when I spin around dramatically, it doesn't flare out and hit all of my test tubes. I'm just going to chill out at my penthouse. No one knows I'm Batman. If they walk into Bruce Wayne's house and Batman and Dr. Fate are sitting there, we'll explain that later because I want to do it in what, Patrick?
Full cape and cowl.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. Yeah, it just so good. So I'm going to do
He's
some
just so
detective.
relaxed, though. I just love he's just laid back. He's got his arms over the back of the couch.
Yeah, and remember, this is 1979 hairy chested sex god Batman, not the, hairless sort of prepubescent fantasy Batman. This is the lady killer Batman.
with his shag rug.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, Batman here, he's just detecting, he's crime fighting, he's pontificating, and he's doing some explaining all in full cape and cow. Yeah, just he's doing it all. And what is Dr. Fate doing with his hands in that other panel?
Oh, yeah, well, magic stuff. I have to check mine. I think hang on, I have to check my comic. I have it here. Oh, okay. So that's where he's casting the spell to to get the contents of a safety deposit box. This is where they're actually going to go and confront Tyler. What's his name? William
Okay,
Tyler?
so
William
this is
Tyler.
this is this is pre-denouement. So anyway, what we have here is we've got a moral conundrum for Batman because he's working with a guy who's doing pre-crime. He's beating the shit out of informants in order to get confessions. He's basically stealing evidence without a warrant, without any prior cause, without any
This is full vigilante Batman.
yeah. And what is he? He's the self-appointed vigil with a self-appointed set of ethics. So we can all. I hope that you took lessons from this, Patrick, for your future life as a
Oh,
6-year-old. Like,
I was like, obviously the ends justifying the means. And yeah, and it's turned me into the success that you see before you.
so I don't want to belabor this, but this succeeds despite all those flaws, or maybe because of them, maybe because it's just so outlandish. It makes for a great comic book because I really loved this, Patrick. This is a really fun issue for me, and like I said, I'm usually running hot cold on Doctor Fate, and usually it's a bit cold because just like, what is the point of him?
I'd like to say that because I said at the beginning I always have liked Dr. Fate, and I do. But I actually agree with you that he's sort of another character I've always really liked is Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I think maybe I mentioned this in a different episode that we did, but he's on another character like Dr. Fate that I feel like underperforms for how much I really enjoy the character visually and sort of the power set, and I always want and expect a lot. But there's something about them both that actually leaves me cold as well, and it's hard to put my finger on it exactly what it is. But definitely, Dr. Fate, I feel like just sort of criminally underused, or maybe
Miss
in the right way.
Misuse. So this separate
Yeah.
magisterium idea is something that we're going to come back to. I want to keep using it, especially when we're talking about the other team books, where why is Wolverine dragging around this other person who has no possible skill set to be there when you could run a parallel story and this person is looking after that aspect and that character is looking after this aspect? That was done really, really well here. And it lets everyone have their visual moment. Like Dr. Fate can do is like contorting of the bad guy in Limbo or wherever he is. And then Batman can do his Dark Knight detecting and just, beating up people willy nilly in the dark, to his heart's content without this big yellow dude. Messing with his sort of style, if you will. So Patrick, I really did like this, even though it is very silly, and probably because it's very silly. It is a comic book. I'm allowed to like something
It
that's
is, yes.
that's silly.
And there was more to it than the other Brave and Bold that we recently did. Just felt like there was more to the mystery, there was more to the story.
Yeah, this was just a under the radar sort of great read, and I'm sort of happy to put it maybe above DC Presents 26 and Marina, which had that
Ooh.
style and art, but the absolutely absurd storyline, um, or
Ooh.
Marina, which kind of went nowhere after one good issue.
I may compromise and then put it below Marina.
Okay, above the poorly executed Detroit. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, only because I agree with what you're saying, and it like you always say, it does what's on the tin, and it accomplishes what it set out to do. But I do feel like it's a little bit limited in scope. And
I
honestly, I like the art in this one, but I actually don't like it as well. It looks more rushed to me than the Red Tornado that we did
okay.
with the exact same artists.
I
Just some
guess
of the
I guess you're talking about what I called a shorthand. Yeah, so the four figure is really great here, but then the shorthand in the background, we weren't getting shorthand backgrounds in the Red Tornado issue. We were getting like full drawn scapes, for want of a better word.
Yeah, and some of the because I'm such a big Starlin fan, so when you're in these limbo realms, I really want that to just explode. And I actually felt like the timeless dimension that we were in DC Presents 26, kind of liked it a little bit better.
Oh yeah,
But of
it
course it
looked
was
cool,
Starlin.
even though that villain was asinine. It did look.
I love the villain though, In Gone. You can't he was
Oh,
so
oh
creepy
no, I
looking.
mean Hal Jordan's astral projection is like the worst
That was
idea ever. It just so happened it was in a cool prog rock space.
yes,
Don
exactly.
Newton isn't drawing the landscape of psychedelia quite as well as what Stalin does, but I do like his his Doctor Fate powers rather. So I can see how it just slots in like around under 26. I can see that, especially given 26 also has the art for the Teen Titans one from
And then with the Marina one, we've got all those good characters, even though they're, you know, I don't know. It had a poignant ending.
okay. So you think
They were at the party. We get the Submariner, in a tuxedo, and
the president is mentioned in a comic. So as much as I like the setup of this, I just want to relax with Doctor Fate and Batman. I'm happy to just slot it in just under Marina, but above, like I think this is now though the template which we have to evaluate all of the future team up interactions in the future because this is a team up without physically being together for things that each individual is very expert at.
does it make sense? Do they look comfortable in the milieu that they find themselves in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to make them uncomfortable on purpose, that's a whole separate issue. That's a different execution. But right here is kind of like a great way to tell that story.
I will say this, t complete side note, and I hate to say it, but the coloring in your collection is quite garish and sort of undersells the art compared to what the original looks like. I mean, because I have mine in front of me, so
That's
seeing them
a
and
that's a
comparing them,
complaint I have for all of the omnibuses that aren't sort of re-saturate or like re-desaturated. So the one that it works well on is characters like Spider-Man. The things that it doesn't work well on is like characters like Batman and Conan and stuff, especially like the things that are meant to be really grounded in this day and night sort of world. It doesn't that the glossy paper does a lot of these people no favors. I'd be interested. I don't. My X Men are all X Men comics, but I think because the X Men is so massive, they might actually recolor them specifically for the glossy paper. But I can't confirm that because I have the Fantastic Four by John Byrne in that omnibus format and we may look at one of those issues soon. And I'd be interested if you can compare your issue to my PowerPoint presentation here. So
it's
save
just
that.
interesting because you really appreciated the art in both of those issues, and I did too, but you were getting the dumbed down art because the art in the original looks quite a bit better, I have to say. It really, really does.
So I'd say for all of the people who are doing artwork before 1995, their whole production process is designed to be printed on sort of a bit more shitty paper. which means that you can do different things. Like you can just make the whole page look black and it'll look cool. Whereas today you can, like, a lot of the art is in the coloring, which I dislike. I like the art to be in the lines, a bit like you. We have different styles which we like, but I think you and I both prefer the line work to the color
Mhm.
gradients. So
Yeah.
sometimes in those reprints, the whole process is geared to these amazing colors, but at the time the coloring wasn't up to snuff. So I can live with the, let's just put it this way, I can live with the measles looking jean greys and stuff when they make the skin color out of all the little dots of pink. I
Mhm.
can live with that. So, Patrick, without further ado, this is just going to slot in under Marina.
Yep.
And like, follow, subscribe if you are interested in our future episodes. We may have some Fantastic Four coming down the pike. So tune in for that. And it's been great to have you. Take care.